I had a viewer email me yesterday alerting me to this story. ESPN posted an article over the weekend. It was a 90-minute interview with WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. The article is long. It took me a while to read it. I actually read it several times to make sure I knew what the hell I was talking about before I presented this to you guys today. The topic of conversation was growing the WNBA over the next 5 years. And I will give Cathy Engelbert credit. She is aggressive. I cannot knock her hustle. She's not afraid to try something new, which is something that's been lacking in the WNBA. This is a league that's been on life support for 20 years now. So I credit her for attempting to breathe life into this lifeless league. To say her plan's interesting would be an understatement. I understand what she's trying to do here. Even though the WNBA has received more attention in the last year than they've received in the previous 20 to 25 years, the WNBA still remains an afterthought. Playoff games, for example. Playoff games are being moved from home arenas to accommodate Disney on Ice. Not once, but twice in the span of a week. The second time a WNBA playoff game was moved, it was because of some Colombian pop singer giving a concert. Not an American pop star, not a mainstream pop star, not even a Canadian pop star. This was a Colombian pop star. And I'd never heard of the singer before. I've mentioned him several times when I was talking about the WNBA, but I can't remember his name. Either way, he should not be a big enough deal to move a playoff game in a professional sport. ESPN has been more accommodating to the WNBA than any other network on television. ESPN, ABC, they continue to broadcast WNBA games, even though no one is watching them. But even the generosity at ESPN has its limits. Games 1 and Game 2 of the WNBA Finals were broadcast on ESPN and ABC. Game 3 was supposed to be broadcast on ESPN. At the last minute, it was moved to ESPN2. Why? Was O.J. Simpson once again fleeing down the 405 in a white Bronco? Did a major NFL or NBA star suddenly announce their retirement and ESPN bumped the WNBA for the press conference? No, nothing major happened in sports. ESPN decided to move the WNBA Finals to ESPN2 so they can broadcast an NBA preseason game. The NBA preseason. You think the NFL preseason is irrelevant? It doesn't get more irrelevant than the NBA preseason. But ESPN knows more people are likely to watch a preseason NBA game than the WNBA Finals. This is how irrelevant the WNBA is right now. And it's the reason why Cathy Engelbert is trying to shake things up. The article states that although the WNBA has some stars that are household names, the league faces many challenges. Now, I partially agree with that statement. I agree on the WNBA facing many challenges. I agree on that part. But what WNBA star is a household name? When you use the phrase household name, that means your mom, your sister, your grandmother has heard of these people. LeBron James, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. These are household names. There is not one player in the WNBA with that kind of status. There is not one WNBA player that has crossover mainstream appeal. Now, you could argue that the biggest star in the league is Sue Bird, but she's more famous for banging Megan Rapinoe than for anything she's accomplished in the WNBA. So on the list of challenges this league is facing, building superstars, marketable stars, should be included on that list. Here are some of the other challenges. WNBA franchises. They have barely increased in value in 25 years. Back in the early 2000s, you could purchase a WNBA franchise for $5-10 million. The majority of the franchises could be purchased for that amount right now. 25 years, no increase in value. ESPN, they tried to compare the WNBA to Major League Soccer. The idea here was to show that both leagues are similar. But the broadcast rights fees and the media attention that Major League Soccer receives is far greater than the WNBA. Because Major League Soccer involves men and the WNBA is women. It's bias, I tell you. We can't have this bias against women in a woke society. There is a logical reason for this. Major League Soccer is more popular than the WNBA. Major League Soccer averages over 13,000 fans a game this season. The COVID pandemic has kind of tempered their ability to draw live fans. Now, the WNBA, on the other hand, 2,500. In 2019, Major League Soccer was averaging over 21,000 fans at their games. Ratings for Major League Soccer, 8% higher than the WNBA. There are actual Major League Soccer players who are stars. So it makes sense why ESPN pays MLS $90 million for their broadcast rights and only $25 million for the WNBA. And it's kind of funny when you think about it. Superstar NBA players, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, those guys, they make more money in a year than the WNBA receives in their broadcast rights. Now, let's get to this plan for the WNBA to grow over the next 5 years. One area they're focusing on, marketing and branding, something the WNBA has struggled with in the past. For example, Candace Parker, she is on the cover of NBA 2K this year. When I read that, the first thing that came to my mind was, why? Doesn't make any sense. How many NBA games has Candace Parker played in? The same amount as me, 0. This is nothing but a virtue signal by the NBA and EA Sports. Look, we are inclusive. We include women. Sue Bird in a CarMax commercial. They are trying to get other WNBA players endorsement deals. Now, this is actually a good plan, save for the virtue signal with Candace Parker. I think that's going to piss more people off than draw them to the WNBA. But what the hell do I know? They're also going to be more collaborative with women's college basketball. In other words, the WNBA is going to leech off the popularity of women's college basketball, which is a smart move. I'm not knocking it. The championship game in women's basketball draws between 3 and 4 million viewers. The WNBA finals, 3 to 400,000. There is a massive, massive drop in popularity from the college to the pro level, which is not the case with any other sport. The NFL more popular than college football. NBA more popular than college basketball. Major League Baseball far more popular than college baseball. Now, there are a few other details to this 5-year plan, but I'm here to tell you the flaws. There is a major flaw in this WNBA growth plan. I understand why they're taking this direction, but I'm about to tell you why it's not going to work. What Cathy Engelbert is really doing here is taking advantage of the media attention the WNBA has received this year. Now, why have they received increased media attention? Is it because the product on the court is just that good? Is it because they have a large group of emotionally invested fans? No and no. The WNBA has received the bulk of their media attention because the players became activists. And you know how the woke media just loves their social justice warriors. Cathy Engelbert is trying to take advantage of that. But eventually, that wears off. You can only see a player kneel for the national anthem so many times before it stops being effective. You can only draw eyes from shocking political demonstrations so many times before people get bored with it and move on. At the end of the day, if the product on the court is not any good, people are not going to watch. And let's be honest here, the WNBA product is not good. It sucks. Cathy Engelbert said there is a movement going on to support the women of the WNBA. I think it's because we focus on diversity, inclusion, and equity. They even pulled a PR stunt the other night in the WNBA Finals. They presented Diana Taurasi with the GOAT Award. Then Cathy Engelbert pulled a small shirt out of her pocket that said Future GOAT. It was a reference to the child that Diana Taurasi had just had with her wife. Smart marketing ploy, it was. The woke media ate it up. The WNBA is focused on inclusion. We want to include everyone in our league. But once again, the attention was just temporary. Cathy Engelbert said, "How else could we partner with companies like AT&T and Google if there wasn't support for these women? These companies want to market themselves as supporters of diversity, inclusion, and equity." And therein lies the problem. That's the problem. You just said it yourself. Companies are not getting involved in the WNBA because it's a potential moneymaker. They're not getting involved because the league is popular across America. They're getting involved out of guilt. They're getting involved to bow to the agenda. The problem with this, it's not real. When companies invest in the NBA, they are investing because it's a wise investment. They'll get a return. When companies invest like this, they care. They're invested, for a lack of a better word. With the WNBA, they're virtue signaling. Once another cause arrives that provides more exposure for their virtue signal, they will move to that cause and abandon the WNBA. Cathy Engelbert is taking this approach, playing off the guilt of corporations for two reasons. Number one, she knows she can't sell the product on the court alone. And number two, she knows corporations cannot tell her no right now. If they do, they'll be labeled misogynist, anti-woman. The woke mob will go after them. It's easier for these corporations to comply, give the WNBA a little bit of money and exposure, than to deal with the potential backlash of turning them down. In terms of the WNBA, this is a band-aid to the real problem. The real problem is your league just isn't that interesting, and you're not doing anything to make it more appealing. As a matter of fact, you're doing the opposite of what you should be doing. It's already been proven in terms of sports, going woke does not work. It destroyed the NBA, hurt Major League Baseball, ruined the Tokyo Olympics. You are not going to draw an audience by being woke. And this is a direct contrast to Cathy Engelbert's message of inclusion. How are you being inclusive when your entire premise, your entire plan, alienates a large segment of the population? How is that inclusive? Oh, well, we're only marketing our league to people who support our cause, to people who support social justice. Well, that's one hell of a marketing strategy. Marketing companies, they look for the largest pool of targets possible. According to recent polls, only 10% of the country identify themselves as woke. So essentially, the WNBA is marketing to 35 million people. Of those 30 or 35 million, you can expect less than 1% to bite, which gives you an audience of 3 to 350,000. That's what the WNBA is drawing right now. This is not going to work. The NBA is 100 times as popular as the WNBA. Social justice wrecked them. The WNBA is not strong enough to be able to take a hit like that. Now, while I do like some of Cathy Engelbert's plan, most of it's just common sense, but while I do like some of it, ultimately, like I said, it's not going to work because she's tying the growth of the WNBA to social justice. And there's yet to be one business tied to social justice that succeeded. Everything it touches, it destroys. But time to let me know what you think. Give me your thoughts on the WNBA growth plan. Will it make the league more mainstream? Will they grow? Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.